Welcome back to another exciting episode of Decentralized Application Development Crashcasts. I'm Sheila, and as always, I'm joined by the brilliant Victor. Before we dive in, I just want to remind our amazing listeners that if you're enjoying our content, please take a moment to rate us on your podcast platform. Your support means the world to us.
That's right, Sheila. Your ratings help us reach more developers and enthusiasts in the decentralized app world. Now let's get into today's topic, shall we?
Absolutely. Today we're continuing our journey through Season 2, focusing on core hole-punch technologies. We're in Chapter 2, which is all about Hyperswarm networking. Specifically, we'll be discussing namespaces and swarms. But before we start, I've got a brain teaser for our listeners.
Ooh, I love a good quiz. What have you got for us, Sheila?
Here's the question. In a Hyperswarm network with millions of peers, what potential issue might arise if two different applications use the same namespace identifier? Take a moment to think about it, listeners.
That's an intriguing question, Sheila. It really makes you think about the scalability and organization of these vast peer-to-peer networks. I'm curious to see what our listeners come up with. While they ponder, let's dive into our main topic.
Great idea, Victor. Let's start with the basics. Can you explain what namespaces are in the context of Hyperswarm?
Certainly. In Hyperswarm, namespaces are like virtual containers or partitions within the network. They help organize and segregate different parts of the network based on their purpose or the application they belong to. Think of them as area codes in a phone system. They help route information to the right place.
That's a great analogy. So, if namespaces are like area codes, what would swarms be in this phone system analogy?
Excellent question. If we extend the analogy, swarms would be like specific phone numbers within an area code. A swarm is a group of peers that are interested in or working with a particular piece of data or functionality within a namespace.
I see. So namespaces help organize the broader network, and swarms are more specific groupings within those namespaces. Is that correct?
That's spot on, Sheila. You're getting the hang of this. Now let's dive a bit deeper. In Hyperswarm, namespaces and swarms work together to create what's called topic-based networking. Can you guess what that might mean?
Topic-based networking. I'm thinking it might be a way of organizing the network based on specific topics or interests. Am I on the right track?
Absolutely. Topic-based networking in Hyperswarm means that peers can join or leave swarms based on their interest in specific topics. These topics are usually represented by unique identifiers within a namespace. This approach allows for efficient and targeted communication between peers who share common interests or goals, much like joining a specific chat room or forum.
That's fascinating. It sounds like it could really help with scalability and efficiency in large networks. But I'm curious, how do developers actually use namespaces and swarms when building applications?
Great question. When developers are building applications with Hyperswarm, they typically start by defining a namespace for their app. This namespace is usually derived from a unique identifier, like the app's name or a cryptographic key. Within this namespace, they can then create multiple swarms for different features or datasets in their application.
Can you give us a real-world example of how this might work?
Sure. Let's say we're building a decentralized social media app called DecentraGram. We might create a namespace called DecentraGram. Within this namespace, we could have swarms for different features. Point 1. A swarm for user profiles. 2. Another for photo sharing. 3. A third for messaging. Each of these swarms would have its own topic identifier within the DecentraGram namespace.
That makes a lot of sense. It seems like this structure would help keep things organized as the application grows. But I'm wondering, are there any challenges or pitfalls developers should be aware of when working with namespaces and swarms?
Absolutely, Sheila. One common pitfall is namespace collisions. If two different applications accidentally use the same namespace identifier, it could lead to confusion and potential security issues. That's why it's crucial to choose unique and preferably cryptographically derived namespace identifiers.
That brings us back to our quiz question. So, if two applications use the same namespace identifier, they might inadvertently share data or interfere with each other's operations, right?
Exactly. You've hit the nail on the head. In a network with millions of peers, such a collision could cause significant problems. It might lead to data leaks, where information from one app accidentally flows into another, or cause applications to malfunction as they receive unexpected data. That's why best practices in Hyperswarm development emphasize the importance of carefully managing namespaces.
Wow, that really puts things into perspective. Are there any tools or techniques developers can use to avoid these collisions?
Indeed, there are. Many developers use cryptographic hashing functions to generate their namespace identifiers. By hashing a unique string, like the app's name plus a secret key, they can create a practically collision-resistant namespace identifier. Additionally, some developers prefix their namespaces with a unique string to further reduce the chance of collisions.
That's really helpful information, Victor. As we wrap up, could you share a fun fact or interesting tidbit about namespaces and swarms in Hyperswarm?
Sure thing. Here's an interesting fact that might surprise our listeners. The concept of namespaces and swarms in Hyperswarm is actually inspired by how schools of fish organize themselves in the ocean. Just as fish of the same species group together and navigate as one unit, peers in a swarm work together within their namespace.
That's fascinating. Nature really does provide some amazing models for technology. Now, let's summarize the key points we've covered today. 1. Namespaces in Hyperswarm are like area codes, organizing the broader network. Point 2. Swarms are specific groups within namespaces, like phone numbers within an area code. 3. Together, they enable topic-based networking, allowing efficient communication between peers with shared interests. 4. Developers should be careful to avoid namespace collisions when building applications. 5. Cryptographic techniques can be used to generate unique namespace identifiers. Did I miss anything important, Victor?
That's an excellent summary, Sheila. You've covered all the crucial points. I think our listeners now have a solid understanding of namespaces and swarms in Hyperswarm.
Great. And with that, we've come to the end of today's episode. Remember, listeners, if you enjoyed this content, please visit crashcasts.com, join our Discord community, or support us on Patreon. Your engagement helps us create more valuable content for you. Until next time, happy coding!